My guess is you're not likely sleeping enough. And I'm also guessing you'd probably like to sleep a little more. And the reason I know that is because you're probably living the Western average when it comes to sleep. Experts say you should be getting 8 hours a night, but something like 2/3 of us aren't getting anywhere near that much. Me, most nights, 4 or 5 hours maybe. So if you're feeling a little exhausted, you might want to prop your eyelids open and stick around, because today I'm going to take a look at one of the most fundamental skills we need to live an authentic existence, the ability to just turn everything off. I don't know how the average night goes for you, but let me tell you how it happens for me. The older I get, the earlier I want to go to bed. And years ago, I used to make fun of my grandparents because they like to have a cup of cocoa at about 8:30, and by 9 o'clock, lights out. Now, 40 years ago, that seemed to me like such an old person thing to do. Now, however, in my 6th decade of life, 8:30, well, that's starting to look pretty good. So if I'm not out traveling, if I'm not speaking somewhere, that's exactly what I do. 8:30, bedtime. But no matter how early I get in bed, I still lie there wide awake for 2 or 3 hours before I even begin to feel a little bit drowsy. And I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, well, why didn't you just get up earlier in the morning, Shawn, and then you'll be more tired at bedtime at night? But I do. I mean, it's a pretty rare day when I'm not awake by 4 something in the morning or 5 something at the very latest. And I walk about 7 miles a day. I almost never eat in the evening, and I never drink caffeine. And still, it takes me at least 2 or 3 hours to fall asleep at night. And I think one of the biggest problems I've got is the fact that I can't seem to turn the world off. Because how do you just stop thinking about stuff? I mean, how do you stop thinking about what happened during the day? And how do you stop working on the problems that still need to be solved? And if there's some kind of crisis going on, and you know there's always some kind of crisis, well then I can't stop thinking about that. So I promise you, I am easily one of the most sleep-deprived people on the face of the planet. And while you might not be as radically sleep-impaired as I am, the national average tells me that 2/3 of you are squeaking by on not enough sleep. And I don't need to tell you, that is going to catch up with you in the long run. I don't want to scare you. Maybe I want to scare you just a little bit. But not getting enough sleep seems to be a key factor among people who develop Alzheimer's. Just a little bit of sleep deprivation makes your blood sugar look like you're pre-diabetic. And it contributes to things like coronary heart disease, stroke, depression, and anxiety. And now that I've drawn your attention to that, I guess this show might also be a contributing factor for anxiety. Here's the weird thing about it. For all the advancements we've made in medical science, one of the biggest mysteries we continue to face is how sleep works. I mean, if you think about it, sleep is a really weird thing. Most people spend roughly 1/3 of their lives completely unconscious, immobilized, defenseless. And for those of you who might subscribe to the theory of evolution, going to sleep doesn't make a lot of sense because, well, what advantage could you possibly have for survival if you're out cold 1/3 of your life? I mean, theoretically, sleeping animals are a late-night, all-you-can-eat buffet for night-prowling carnivores. So I'm not sure it makes a whole lot of sense. So why in the world do we sleep? Now, there are all kinds of books out there that try to explain it, and because I'm such a horrible sleeper, I've spent a lot of time wading through the sleep literature. And what we do know about sleep, well, it's pretty fascinating. And because this isn't a science show, I won't bore you with all of the data, except to say that sleep appears to be one of the last frontiers of scientific discovery. I mean, what exactly is your brain doing when you're lying there drooling on your pillow? Well, here's what we do know. We know that the body does repairs while you're sleeping, which might be one of the reasons we seem to crave more bed rest when we're feeling a little ill. And we know that your brain isn't completely inactive when you're sleeping because, well, you spend a good chunk of the night dreaming, which appears to be the brain's way of cleaning up your hard drive. It takes new memories from the day you just experienced, and it finds a place to store them in your long-term memory. And then it works on cleaning up the neural connections that you no longer need. So you might think of it as defragging your hard drive. And the stuff you can learn from dreaming? Well, that's absolutely fascinating. I mean, have you ever wondered why it is when you're fast asleep, you'll suddenly remember things from your childhood that you haven't remembered in years? And it'll be all mixed in with stuff that happened today or this past week. It's almost like your brain is taking all that stuff from right now and it's looking for a place to store it, some kind of hook to hang it on. And that hook might be a very old childhood memory. You know, when they study your brain waves as you're dreaming, at some points, it almost looks like you're wide awake. I mean, it looks like a big chaotic mess of signals, neurons firing all over the place, everywhere in your brain. And if your brain wasn't wired to paralyze you while you're dreaming, you'd probably act out your dreams and really hurt yourself. You'd be getting up and moving around in the dark, smashing into things, walking off ledges, trying to fly, or whatever else it is you happen to be dreaming about. That's what happens during rapid eye movement, when your brain is highly active and it produces measurable brain waves. And this goes on about every 90 minutes while you're sleeping. But there's another part of sleep, and I don't want to freak you out too much, but there's another part of sleep when you're almost not there at all. They call it NREM, or non-rapid eye movement. And this is what's going on in your brain between dreams, mostly during the first hours of the night. Non-rapid eye movement is this moment in your brain when you are absolutely unconscious. You are receiving no outside stimuli. And how it happens is really pretty weird. Right behind your forehead, right here at the top of your face, just below where your hair used to be when you were 20, your brain starts sending out deep, slow waves of information, and it radiates from the front all the way back through your brain. But it doesn't go equally in every direction. It travels from the front of your brain to the back, kind of like having a tiny little speaker mounted at the front of your skull that's pointed directly backwards. And when these slow, deep waves begin to pulse, well, the weirdest thing happens. Usually, the various parts of your brain are firing off at the same time, creating what looks like chaos because all the various information centers of your mind are just doing their own thing, almost independent of each other. But when this deep, non-rapid eye movement happens, it's like all the cells in your brain hear the music from that tiny speaker at the front, they all stop what they're doing, and they all fall in line and join the pulsations from the front. Kind of like billions of little obedient cult members chanting together. It's almost like a bad science fiction movie from the 1950s where a bunch of body snatchers have taken over the brains of Earthlings, and when the mothership sends out an eerie noise, everybody stops what they're doing, they all face in the same direction and begin chanting the same note. And what appears to be happening is that the brain cells, the neurons, they're all firing off in slow, steady unison. And the brain appears to be connecting the various regions of the brain and harmonizing them. And from what I understand, this is when you're actually storing your memories and cleaning them up. All the parts of the brain start talking to each other and cooperating. And then when that's finished, you start dreaming again. So, from what I can tell, sleep is pretty important for your mental well-being. And maybe this is why we have so much trouble focusing, connecting the dots when we're sleep deprived. And maybe it's why we have trouble performing delicate tasks or giving a speech or forming coherent sentences when we haven't slept in days. The brain just hasn't had a chance to clean itself up. But then, suddenly you get a good night's sleep. And now you're on top of the world and you can remember things and you have an easier time just living. Now, I've got to take a quick break, so go and do what you need to do. Maybe take a quick nap for your brain's sake, and I'll be right back.
Are you searching for answers to life's toughest questions like, where is God when we suffer? Can I find real happiness? Or is there any hope for our chaotic world? The Discover Bible Guides will help you find the answers you're looking for. Visit us at BibleStudies.com or give us a call at 888-456-7933 for your free Discover Bible Guides. Study online on our secure website or have the free guides mailed right to your home. There is never a cost or obligation. The Discover Bible Guides are our free gift to you. Find answers in guides like, Does My Life Really Matter to God? And A Second Chance at Life. You'll find answers to the things that matter most to you in each of the 26 Discover Bible Guides. Visit BibleStudies.com and begin your journey today to discover answers to life's deepest questions.
Our fascination with the phenomenon of sleep dates back a really, really long time. Back in the ancient world, the Egyptians, or at least the wealthy ones who had spare time and education, they would carefully write down their dreams because they were pretty sure the dreams meant something. The same was true of the ancient Assyrians, who based their capital in the city of Nineveh. So, when we went excavating Nineveh toward the end of the 19th century, we suddenly discovered the library of the Assyrian king Ashurbanipal. And what we found was a significant number of books that dealt with the interpretation of dreams. And what really surprised us in those books is the fact that those ancient writings said the very same things as those dream interpretation books you can find in the New Age section of a bookstore today. Because it seems while the original writings were buried in the rubble of Nineveh, there were other copies that made their way all over the world. And medieval Europeans had those ancient ideas and they stole them. And today our books about dream interpretation are based on that European plagiarism of very ancient ideas. But I'm getting off subject a little bit. We all know instinctively that sleep is really good for you. And we've known that since the beginning of recorded history. The problem is that most of us aren't doing it right, and it's taking a toll on our physical health. And it's taking a toll on our mental health. And we're starting to pay a really big price, to the point where I actually wonder, with all of the political unrest and all the protests in the street and the way that people ruthlessly attack each other online every single day and we seem to be losing our civility, well, I wonder how much of that would go away or at least calm down if we just got enough rest. I mean, I don't mean to minimize the problems because this is certainly not the panacea, it's not the solution. But I do find myself wondering if it's not a factor. If we're all sleep deprived, are we behaving badly, at least in part because of that? Now, before I go any further, let me just say this. I kind of knew I'd be taking a risk by going public with my own insomnia today because, well, every time I get on air and say, here's what's wrong in my life, I start getting all kinds of helpful letters in the mail. And I know people mean well, they want to help me solve the problem, but honestly, I don't want the letters. I don't need any solutions because believe me, I live a very happy existence and I've already explored every known alternative for getting a better night's sleep. All of them. I've been to sleep labs, I've tried supplements, cold showers before bed. I've done everything that has ever been tried. And there's one thing I've discovered that does work better than anything else. And even though I'm far from conquering the problem of sleeplessness completely, there's something I have found that has made life, well, a whole lot better. Something that was written thousands of years ago. It's found in the book of Psalms. And maybe I'll just take a minute and read some of this to you. If you happen to have a Bible at your house, maybe go and get it so that you can follow along. I mean, I'm going to put the verses here on the screen for you, but it's always good to see it for yourself in the pages of your own Bible. So here we go now, Psalm chapter 4. Now the language here might be a little bit archaic, and the author may have lived like 3,000 years ago, but I want you to notice that not a whole lot has changed in 3,000 years. So we're going to parse this pretty carefully and spend a bit of time wading through what I think is some really good information. This psalm, Psalm 4, was written by a guy who couldn't sleep. And the reason he couldn't sleep was because, well, he had problems. So even if you don't find all the answers you're looking for right now, you can still take heart that many other people have lived through this. And I think you'll find that what this guy says is a pretty good starting point for finding a little more peace of mind. So here we go now, Psalm 4, starting in verse 1. He writes, "Hear me when I call, O God of my righteousness. You have relieved me in my distress. Have mercy on me and hear my prayer." Now, I don't know what kind of problems you're dealing with, and I have no idea if you're a religious person or not, but I'm guessing that at some point you have cried out to God in the quiet hours of the night. Now, maybe you don't believe there is a God or even like the idea of God, but I'm telling you, the odds are at some point at 2 in the morning you have knocked on His door when you're at the end of your rope. So here's what's going on with this passage. You've got a guy who did everything right. He lives a righteous life. He's a good man, and he tries hard, but his life is still full of problems. This is why he refers to the Creator as the God of my righteousness. He's basically appealing to God, saying, listen, you know I'm down here trying. You know my cause is righteous and I'm doing all the right things, so would you please just listen to me? Now, if I'm perfectly honest, I'll have to admit I've been here more than once. I might be an ordained minister. I might have credentials in my wallet that say I'm a member of the clergy, but I've got to tell you, that does nothing but make me anything but human. I know a lot of the preachers on TV right now will tell you that following God is some kind of a ticket to Easy Street, but I got to tell you, that's not true. I don't mind admitting to you, I have personally hit the breaking point more than once in my life. I have come to the point where I know that if one more thing in my life goes sideways, I'm probably going to snap. And the reason I'm telling you this is because that's where this psalm is coming from. This is a guy at the end of his rope. He's running out of ideas. He has no more solutions. So he's wide awake in bed and he takes his case to God. And his problems stem from the way other people are treating him, which is something, well, I know you've experienced that too. It's pretty much a part of everybody's life. So he's talking to God, and then he turns and talks to the people who are bothering him in verse 2. How long, he says to them, O you sons of men, will you turn my glory to shame? How long will you love worthlessness and seek falsehood? But know that the Lord has set apart for Himself him who is godly. The Lord will hear when I call to Him. So he's looking at the people who live around him, the people who are doing life, well, wrong. And he's contemplating the difference. Those people are dishonest. They're wasting their lives doing ungodly things, but on the outside, their lives seem like it's going pretty good. And it's tempting to want to be those other people because it looks like their life is easier. But then the psalmist reminds himself that because he has chosen the righteous life, because he wants to live in harmony with Almighty God, he's actually got the ear of the Creator of the universe. In the quiet hours of the night, when he seems to be alone with his problems, he suddenly remembers that God actually hears him. And in light of that, he comes up with some really good advice. And this, personally, is where I've found a few keys to solving my own anxious sleeplessness. I mean, listen to this. In verse 4, it says, "Be angry and do not sin." Now, in the original language, it's more like, "Be agitated and do not sin." "Meditate within your heart on your bed and be still." So the first thing he does is acknowledge that he's agitated. And instead of wallowing in that emotion, he gives himself permission to step aside and think about it. And what that does is let you step outside of yourself and get a new perspective on the problem. You put aside the deeply personal nature of your problems for just a few minutes and you start to look at them rationally. Almost like they're someone else's problems and you're helping them think it through. And I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but somebody else's problems, they don't make you anywhere near as anxious as your own. And you can gain a far better degree of objectivity. So, the first key is to take your problems and pretend that you're helping somebody else. Now, I've got to take another quick break, and I'll be right back with a few more keys to help you with your problems.
Here at the Voice of Prophecy, we're committed to creating top-quality programming for the whole family, like our audio adventure series, Discovery Mountain. Discovery Mountain is a Bible-based program for kids of all ages and backgrounds. your family will enjoy the faith-building stories from this small mountain summer camp and town. With 24 seasonal episodes every year and fresh content every week, there's always a new adventure just on the horizon.
Okay, we're in Psalm chapter 4 where the author gives himself permission to just be agitated. And he determines at the same time that he's not going to sin. He's not going to behave badly because of his problems. And then he chooses to stay in bed and think things through. He meditates on the problem, almost as if he's working on it for somebody else. And I know that's easier said than done, but let's keep reading. Verse 5 now. It says, "Offer the sacrifices of righteousness and put your trust in the Lord." So here's what he's doing. He's making a choice. He has the right to be agitated. He has the right to be frustrated, but at the same time, he makes a choice. His response to frustration is not going to violate the principles of righteousness. He's not going to let a little setback pull him off the righteous path. And because the Bible is a very honest book, he mentions that taking that step means trusting. I mean, when you're dealing with panicky thoughts in the middle of the night, it's tempting to take the easy way out. It's tempting to just do the wrong thing, to get the problem off your plate. But no matter how bad things get, you still have a choice, even when you don't feel like you do. Because no matter what you're facing, you can still consciously choose to trust that God will handle it. So, on a personal note, here's what I do. I keep a notepad or an iPad right beside my bed. And when those middle of the night anxieties begin to torture me, I simply write them down. And what I'm doing is taking the position that I am God's child. So these are really God's problems. And then we discuss those problems together. Let's say the roof on my house is leaking. So I say, "Lord, this is your house, not mine. And you know I don't have the money to fix this problem, but you have all the resources in the world, so I'm going to leave it with you, and I will be your property manager." So what I'm doing is working on the problem like I'm helping somebody else. And now it no longer looks like the massive threat that it used to be. And when you take that position, you'd be surprised how often a solution suddenly shows up because you got out of the way and you let God take over. Now, my instinct is to get up at 2 in the morning and implement the solution right away. But that's not rational thinking. So I take the pad and I write it down. And just the act of writing out a potential solution or even several potential solutions, well, that releases my mind from worry. Because when I get up the next morning, I'm still going to remember the discussion I had with God. Let's continue now in verse 6. It says, "There are many who say, 'Who will show us any good? Lord, lift up the light of your countenance upon us.'" Now, we should probably come back to that statement in another episode on another day because this is particularly true of the world we live in right now. People are actually giving up hope that the world has good and honest people anymore. Because no matter who we elect or who we trust, we just get disappointed again and again and again. But I'll save that for another day. And what I want you to notice for now is that one solution to anxiety and sleeplessness is a determination that you could be a light for other people. You could become the solution for somebody else's anxiety. Because I promise you, you're not the only one who tosses and turns and wonders if God is still out there. So when God shines His light on you, you need to become determined to shine it on somebody else and become a solution for their sleeplessness. And imagine the world we'd live in if more of us did that. Okay, verse 7, because we are going to run out of time. That happens to me every week. Verse 7, "You have put gladness in my heart, more than in the season that their grain and wine increased." Now, don't you want you to miss this because the psalmist, what he just did was choose to accept the gladness or joy that comes from knowing that God hears you. And he says that knowing that is worth more than having all the wealth in the world. Other people appear to have a problem-free existence, but the psalmist has something better than a problem-free existence. He has God. I mean, you and I both know that money doesn't really solve problems anyway. Being richer only means having bigger headaches. And trust me, wealthy people lie awake at night too. And a massive bank account can disappear with one financial crisis. It can all go in a single day. But knowing the Creator, knowing there's a God that listens to you, nobody can take that from you. And it's worth more than anything else in the world. Okay, one last break. and then the big finish.
Life can throw a lot at us. Sometimes we don't have all the answers. But that's where the Bible comes in. It's our guide to a more fulfilling life. Here at the Voice of Prophecy, we've created the Discover Bible Guides to be your guide to the Bible. They're designed to be simple, easy to use, and provide answers to many of life's toughest questions. And they're absolutely free. So jump online now, or give us a call and start your journey of discovery.
Dragons, beasts, cryptic statues. Bible prophecy can be incredibly vivid and confusing. If you've ever read Daniel or Revelation and come away scratching your head, you're not alone. Our free Focus on Prophecy guides are designed to help you unlock the mysteries of the Bible and deepen your understanding of God's plan for you and our world. Study online or request them by mail and start bringing prophecy into focus today.
Okay, we're back and we're reading from Psalm 4, and it's time for the big finish now in verse 8. It says, "I will both lie down in peace and sleep. For you alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety." Now here's what I want you to take away from this, and it's profoundly simple. You have a choice. You can choose to lie down in peace. You can choose to sleep, because now you understand that you're just a manager, a groundskeeper, a person who handles the business affairs of an almighty and all-powerful God. So if your life belongs to Him, that means, well, your problems belong to Him too, and He's got the means to solve them. Now, I wish I could tell you I was doing this perfectly. I'm not. This is something I'm still working on myself, but just reading this passage and asking for the peace of knowing that God heard me, and then choosing consciously to believe that God really did hear my plea at 2 in the morning, well, I got to tell you, it's starting to work. This is something that you've got to practice, and you do have to keep making decisions every single day. But every single day, it gets just a little bit better. And yeah, I still have lots of sleepless nights. But I'll tell you this much. It's a really good thing to understand that you are not alone at 2 in the morning, and there really is someone out there listening. And it all begins with the choice to believe, and then a daily choice to keep believing. I'm Shawn Boonstra. You've been watching Authentic.